What's the law on what you can and cannot say on a billboard? I assume you can't say nothing defamatory and you can't say fuck, piss, or cunt. That right?
Pulled up my pants and I apologize to the officer. Oh.
Welcome to Sin Amigos. I'm Mike.
And I'm a Rye.
And this episode we're talking about 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. Well, that's a mouthful.
Well, yeah, which is so funny because I had no idea that that's what the actual title was. I thought it was 3 billboards until the second time I watched it and it was outside Ebbing, Missouri. I was like, oh my god, it's actually in the title. I suck at my job, I guess.
I think most people would have known what we were talking about if we'd just said 3 billboards. I bet there's probably a lot of people who don't realize that's the full title. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to be a smartass in the beginning, for the synopsis too, and it'd be like, when we say what the movie's about.
Right.
And I'm like, well, it's about 3 fucking billboards. Yeah. No,
and
but
that's it.
There is a little more articulate.
Yeah, there is a little more to what the 3 billboards represent. That's really what it's about.
Right.
So we want to do the cast and crew stuff and all that. So this movie was directed by Martin McDonagh. I believe you'd say it. I think it's Scottish or Irish.
It's Irish.
Yeah. Previously, he directed In Bruges, which I have not seen, but he also did 7 Psychopaths, which I have seen that.
Loved. I love Christopher Walken. Oh my god.
Yeah. So the main characters here we have Sheriff Bill Willoughby, played by Woody Harrelson, who has been literally in every other movie I've seen since I was a kid.
Yeah. Well, actually, there was something about the writer I wanted to talk about too.
Go ahead.
He writes plays too. He wasn't just a film director. He writes actual plays that are in New York and they play them in Ireland.
It was written and directed by the same guy. I'm sorry, I should have said that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I just want to give him credit.
So he does stage. He does stage stuff too.
Yeah. Pretty interesting stuff. I YouTubed a couple. It's not something. I'm not a big play guy. You know what I mean? But it was interesting. Get me drunk enough, I'll probably watch it.
I'd like to go to more. I've only been to a few. And everyone I went to was like a musical though. Like went to see Evil Dead the musical. That was awesome. What else have I seen? Christmas Carol.
I think the only play I actually sat and watched was in 5th grade, and it was that Fox and the Trumpet or whatever the hell it was.
Oh yeah, where all the animals are
French horns. And
yes. Peter and the Wolf or something like that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. See, that's what I mean. That's the last time I saw a play. So I can't talk shit.
I remember going to see that in 4th or 5th grade too.
It was interesting.
Palace Theater.
Yeah, it was with band, I think it was, or something like that.
My whole class went in school.
Really?
Yeah,
at the Palace Theater. Yep.
Yep, that's where we went to. I don't do that anymore. My kids never went to see that.
I don't think they do a lot of
The French horn is the only thing I remember too. That is so funny.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's the last time I went, but I don't think that schools really focus on culture stuff like that anymore. You know what I mean?
Ain't no money for the arts.
Yeah, the art. It's sad.
Yeah,
it really expands your mind a little bit too. I mean,
and not as much.
Not so much that I keep going back, but
right.
I at least have that memory.
One time through is enough.
Yeah.
But Woody Harrelson, I mean, you've seen him and everything, but some highlights here. He was Hunger Games, Natural Born Killers, Zombieland.
That was probably my most favorite role I've ever had him. Ever put him in for me.
I will always remember him, and I put this movie down just because it was the first time.
You're gonna say White Man?
I am, yeah.
Awesome.
I loved that movie. So I remember it was 1991 or 92.
Yeah.
And
back when Wesley didn't have the IRS on his ass.
Right. And you could have you could order pay-per-view back then through your cable company.
Yeah.
But you had to it wasn't like now. You don't just search through. There was 2 channels.
You didn't even get a preview.
Right. Each channel showed one movie and the other one showed a different movie, but they would flip-flop them based on Showtime. So
but there was 20 different porn episodes.
Well, yeah. But you couldn't just click on it and say I wanted to order it.
Mm-hmm.
It had a phone number for you to dial.
Right.
Based on which movie you wanted to watch and what Showtime.
I think they only rolled it for 24 hours and then they shut it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you would call the
blue screen.
Yeah, you'd call this number that was on your TV and for the start time that you wanted to watch it.
Back in my day, I didn't get to go to Google and YouTube stuff.
Nope. So I remember I was somewhere with a friend of mine. I went to stay a night somewhere. I was 10, 11 years old, and my dad had rented it while I was gone, and I was so pissed off I didn't get to see it.
I don't know if that's the right demographic for
like a
White Man
10-year-old?
Can't Jump.
Well, he rented it, and my brother got to see it, and
you should have been watching stuff like Three Ninjas or
probably, but he got to watch it, and
Jumanji.
He was, because there's a lot of jokes and shit in that movie, so he knew all that stuff, and I was so pissed off he got to see it. So, but I talked my dad into renting it again for me, so I got to see it. Yeah,
nice. No, it was good. It was a good movie. I mean, it's definitely in the classic vault.
I just like it's just
Woody
like
Harrelson.
right. It's just nostalgia. I'm like, oh my god, I thought that shit was so funny when I was 10.
They did Money Train too, didn't they?
I thought that was that him? I thought Adam Sandler was in that movie.
No, you're thinking of.
He's in another
movie with God damn it,
Damon Wayans.
Yeah. You're thinking of
right.
that. No,
Yeah.
Money Train was Woody Harrelson and I believe Wesley Snipes. Yeah, they were cops and they robbed the Money Train.
Oh, then let's see who's next. We got Mildred Hayes played by Frances McDormand. She was in Almost Famous, a couple other ones, but my mind, and we talked about this before we started recording, she's always going to be the sheriff from Fargo.
Yeah, no doubt. With her Canadian accent. And,
I love it, dude.
Pregnant, driving a cop car.
What's his name?
That's unfortunate.
I used to crack my mom up doing that accent. She'd get up and ask him when her husband's like making her breakfast and stuff.
Right. Did you watch any of the series?
I didn't.
It was good.
Was it good?
It was really good.
I don't know why I didn't.
Yeah, there's I think 3 seasons now, right?
I don't know. Is it connected to the movie or
no? Well, sort of.
Yeah.
It's same universe.
Okay.
Put it that way. But it's in Canada.
Different characters.
But it's the same movie. You know what I mean? Like it's same.
Well, they're not in Canada.
Same dark humor.
They're in Minnesota.
Minnesota.
In North Dakota, right? Fargo is actually in North Dakota.
Yeah. It's but it's kind of the same aspect. There's a mob family, and they want to find the one guy, and the one guy finds that one guy and kills that one guy and gets the information or something like that, and they wind up going after him and becoming criminals on accident.
What was her husband's name? Marv?
Marv, yeah.
Hey, Marv.
Hey, Marv.
How was the fricassee?
Yeah, no, Fargo was a shit, man. Even the series was really good.
She gets all crazy and excited when what's his name? The guy from William H. Macy. Mm-hmm. She goes to talk to him, and he gets in the car and runs and leaves her sitting in the office. And she's like, "He's fleeing the interview. He's fleeing the interview."
Yeah, no, I love that.
Oh,
she's a great character, Frances. Yeah, she's a good woman.
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
Yeah. That's the funniest. They do the same thing in the series.
I just want to talk about that movie now.
It's okay. I mean,
she's talking to them 2 girls from the bar.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, so you was having sex with the little one then, eh?"
She's classic. She got a Grammy for that, didn't she? Or not a Grammy?
I have no
Oscar
idea.
Or some shit, right?
She should have. If she didn't,
I think she did.
I love that part. I love that movie. But she was amazing in this movie too. Like absolutely amazing.
Right. That's but you can always bring up Fargo whenever somebody's bitching about like a woman never gets a lead role or something. You know what I mean? It's like Fargo.
Yeah, she was a hero.
She ran that shit. Pregnant.
She was really, really good in this too, and rightfully did win this time. Whether she did for Fargo or not, she definitely deserved it for this one, and so did Sam Rockwell, who, man, dude played the most convincing drunk person in this movie I've ever seen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The bar.
Like he legitimately, like when they're playing pool towards the beginning of the movie, and like
when they talked about his mom, go back to your mom or whatever.
Yeah,
and she's expecting you home. He's like, mama.
I've seen that. Yeah, he only stutters when he talks about his mom.
Right.
But he just came off like so. Like authentically drunk. Like I've seen that guy. Like he just like anytime you think he looks like he might just punch you in the face, and then all of a sudden he's just like okay and walks
he's
away.
Hugging you or something.
Yeah. I've seen that guy. Like you can tell a lot of people when they pretend to be drunk, they overdo it. Like everything's very exaggerated. How loud they talk, and I mean, and that does happen. But when you get to the like drunk he was at, it was fucking perfect. Especially when you know he wasn't even drunk.
Right.
Not really.
Yeah. But I mean, maybe
it was.
I don't know.
You could have fooled me that it was the best. Like I know that's probably not what stuck out to like
throughout
the
awards,
whole movie. The thing that and that's why people nominated him and he won was probably not for the performance of him being drunk, but like that's what stuck out to my mind. I was like, holy shit! Like I buy that dude is drunk. Like I have seen that guy in bars. Like,
no, I can't wait to talk about the part that stuck out for me whenever we go over like the whole what goes throughout the movie. Oh my gosh! Like I loved his character. I mean, I hated it because it was racist as fuck.
Yeah, that's what I say. He plays Jason Dixon, who is we didn't even talk about who. So Woody Harrelson plays Sheriff Chief Willoughby. Frances McDormand plays Mildred Hayes, and Sam Rockwell plays a deputy named Jason Dixon. Yeah, who is we don't get to see it, but he has apparently used some police brutality on a black man previous to the start of the movie. But he was in.
Tortured that black guy. It wasn't torturing. They call him coloreds.
Yeah. Like he's trying to teach people how not to be racist now. They call him colors.
Like he went to a program or something, or
Right.
watched a video.
Yeah, that's what he learned in his classes, his anger management
Human
classes.
resources or something. Yeah.
But he was in Green Mile.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Seven Psychopaths too, which is probably how he ended up with this job.
I thought he did really great in that.
And then
with that character too.
I put this one on here just because I just watched it for the first time. It came out in 2009, but I just watched it like 2 weeks ago. Moon.
Never heard of it.
No, it's good. Like he is. It's like in the future where they figured out that on the dark side of the moon they are able to mine helium-3, and it's solved. Like now they provide, this company provides like 75% of the energy to the planet based on this stuff. So, and he is like on a 3-year contract up there by himself on the moon, and he just runs all these like automated mining equipment, and shit just starts going.
So is it like a cabin fever kind of thing?
You feel like that's what it is, but then it just kind of turns into a like evil corporation kind of movie.
Let the employee die kind of thing.
Yeah, I won't. Well, you should watch it.
Okay.
I think you'll really like it. I don't want to spoil it for
Yeah.
you. It's on Netflix, so it's easy to find.
He's a good actor. I'll check it out. It's the same with Woody Harrelson, man. You throw him in a movie, I'll fucking watch it. I don't care what it is.
Oh, yeah. And then we have the other big guy that I just wanted to name because there's movie changing event
Is it Peter?
happens that includes him is guy named Caleb Landry Jones, who plays Red Welby, who is the guy who runs the advertising company who sells the space on the 3 billboards to Mildred.
Yeah, the one I fucked up on.
You would recognize it most recently from Get Out. He was in X-Men First Class, but Get Out was probably his breakout because he had stuff like every other year. Now he's got like 3 movies coming out next year since he's been in that. He's the fucking crazy brother in Get Out. And in this movie, he seemed like he always wanted to do the right thing, or at the very least, he was kind of forced to do the right thing.
I mean, I don't think necessarily. I think a lot of people were behind her in this whole film. I mean, there were certain ones that were with Willoughby just because of the situation he was in, which we'll explain later. But I think everybody was really behind her.
You think so?
I do.
Certainly the police station was not. The police force was not about it.
It didn't help it was right across the fucking street.
Yeah. The police station, the force in general was not behind her. Although, I mean, we'll talk about this more. I don't think the sheriff was really against her either.
No, not at all.
Even after she put the billboards up.
Not at all. I don't think.
It was all his underlings that had this huge problem with it, especially Mr. Dixon there.
Well, he knew they were a crowd of fucking.
All right, so let's just go over. We'll just go over we'll just kind of go through the movie from beginning to end here. So when we first meet Mildred, she is in Red's office.
Well, she's in her car first.
Well, she's in her car first, that's right. And she's driving down the street and
on the way to her house.
Yeah, on the way home, and there's a bunch of empty billboards. Look like they've been sitting empty for years.
Yeah, I think since like '89 or something like that.
Yeah, they used to have, what did they say? The last person was like
Baby.
Gerber Baby or Pampers or something was the last thing that was on it. But they built some kind of highway overpass, and now nobody really goes down this road anymore. So
nobody uses it.
Yeah, it's just not an attractive advertising spot anymore. So then we see her go and asking him how much it would cost to rent all 3 of them for a year.
Right, you heard the clip in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, right there. That's what she. Yeah, exactly. That's her opening discussion with him on what she wants to do. But they don't tell you, like, at first. It's not really mentioned what she wants to put on there. Right. It's just what she's just finding out what she can't put on there. And then you get to see him. Mm-hmm. But you don't really have any, like, it's amazing. Like, I thought it was a really strong way to tell a story because you had to have no information. Yet you see what was written on those 3 billboards, and a whole story was told. Right. And like,
well, let me backtrack.
Go ahead.
Just when Red and Mildred first meet and asking about the billboards, she shows her nature helping the beetle stuck on its back for one, just to show you that she's she flips the beetle over, showing that she's not a cruel person.
Right.
Also, an Easter egg of Red's is the book he's reading is Flannery O'Connor, in which there's a character named Red in the book that he's reading. So it's just kind of it's funny how the director pulled that in and out too.
Just wish you were that clever.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, well, why not? You know, what's the kid probably doing anyway in that small town? He's probably sitting there reading a fucking book, waiting on somebody to show up and buy a sign or,
Just like we talked on our Stranger Things episode when they had the security guard reading,
Right. Right.
In the show. Just little clever shit like that.
Well, it ties it in.
Right. Which is why we're sitting here talking about movies and not making them.
Right, yeah. Oh, man. Well, one day maybe. You never know. I'm working on something. If I could only figure out this damn copyright thing. No, but yeah, she goes on and she asks him what she can and can't put on the sign or whatever. Not really what she can, but what she can't.
Right.
You know, because she, you know, it gives you kind of a, you're wondering now, like, what the
the
fuck
hell
she
is
want
she
to put
gonna
up
write
there?
on there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's this old ass lady in this old ass station wagon? You know what I mean? And you know, she's got her bandana on and shit, which that's another Easter egg there. The bandana that she wears is supposed to be a reference to Kings of New York with Christopher Walken, because at a point he,
I've never seen that.
yeah, he has a red bandana on just the way she does.
Huh.
You know what I mean?
That's pretty much a fixture. She kind of wears that thing through the whole movie. Like she's very seldom not seen with it on.
She ain't that chick. You know what I mean? Just don't fuck with her. But then it goes on to her throwing down the money for what, first and second month's rent or some shit like that for the Billboards.
Yes. Well, that's what she thought she was doing.
Mm-hmm. And
then late. Well, we'll get to that part.
Right.
But that's what she thought she was doing. Yeah.
Right. And then we can move on to Dixon driving down the road.
Yeah, and he sees him, and like that's what I was saying.
The
that
fuck is he singing?
I
Do you remember
know.
that? Like it was. It's like, what is this dude doing? There's no
was
sound.
drunk.
There's no music. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, he pulls up and he reads the first billboard, right? Or no, the last one.
Yeah,
Not no any arrests.
No arrests, Chief Willoughby Wire. We should really look at it and get the exact wording.
Right.
Did you write the exact wording
I did
down
not,
there?
but I have photos.
Okay. Well, anyway, like I said, I thought that was such a strong, storytelling device because, like, you didn't need any exposition. You didn't need somebody sitting down and telling you, or like seeing somebody go through like a file. Like you read these 3 billboards and you know exactly what happened.
Right. Well, like I said, the one Mexican guy is working on the first billboard that Chief Willoughby Dixon passes, and it says, "How come Chief Willoughby?" And you know, he starts giving the dude shit, and he's like, you know, and then he points to the other signs, like, go read that one too. You know what I mean? Like, stop bothering me. So he moves to the next one, and you know, the black character's in there working, and I think that dude's, I can't remember, I had his name written down. Anyway, he's working on the one, and it says still no arrests, and he's like, what the fuck is this? And he's like, advertising.
Yeah.
You know? And he's like, well, what kind of advertising is that? He's like, what do you say? It's like obscure or some shit like that.
Yeah,
And then he moves on to the next one. Well, he takes off to the next one, and it says raped while dying.
Right.
And, you know, that's pretty, I don't know.
So
what
basically,
I would, I'd question that if I drove past it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, what the hell?
So basically, if you were driving down the road, you would see a big red billboard with black letters that said raped while dying. Another one right after that that said still no arrests with a question mark. And then after that, how come Chief Willoughby with another question mark? So that's why I said I love it that, like, literally you don't need to know. You know now that her daughter was raped and murdered, that they haven't found who it is.
You didn't need the backstory.
And that it's been a long time since she's heard anything. All that from just 3 little words. That's amazing that you don't need. That's what makes when you don't need somebody to just, like, have, you know, exposition dumps all over the place to explain what's going on.
People don't realize about this film. It's also a Greek tragedy. You know, has its little comedy here and there, but
Right.
you know, it's not necessarily a film where they're going to constantly show you backstories and backdrafts. It's like you'll get the emotions as you're going, because they're going to show you as they're living them. You know what I mean?
Right. So now the police find out about it, and they're super fucking pissed off.
Yeah. He calls him while he's at Easter dinner with his kids, and he's like, I told you not to call me at my goddamn Easter dinner with my goddamn kids. And then he, like, looks at the kids, and he's like, sorry. I'm like, that's me as a father, you know. I'm like,
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Don't repeat that.
But yeah, they get really upset about it, and like, you're not really sure. Like at least in my opinion, at first, I got the idea that this small town's police force was trying to actively not do anything.
Right.
Just because this is the kind of crime that people do, sex crimes.
You immediately hate them.
Yeah, people don't want to talk about that kind of thing, especially in a small town that's likely to be somebody who lived nearby, and they're kind of like literally not doing their job on, like, kind of intentionally bad.
Right.
So they
you
don't
almost
have to
wonder
talk
if one of the
about that.
cops did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But I think that kind of quickly goes away, at least from Chief Willoughby's point, because he just drives right out to talk to Mildred. Mm-hmm. And it's clear they've known each other for a long time.
By himself.
Yeah, he goes by himself. And I think they've known each other for a long time, maybe before he was a cop.
Well, yeah, you get that impression,
Yeah.
and then you find out that they did.
Yeah.
You know.
And you know, you do kind of find out, and that conversation is where I kind of felt like maybe she was being a little unfair after you hear everything he has done.
Right. Which is why I mentioned that, you know, her perception whenever she helps the beetle over. You know what I mean? She's not an animal. She's just showing, she doesn't want to show emotion because that way they know that they're getting to her or it's getting to her.
Right.
And she's not that kind of a person to just break.
Right.
You know
So
what I mean?
it's been like, what, a year or so since her daughter was raped and
it was
murdered?
months. It
Months
was
at
a few
least.
months, and you know she mentions in the story that you know after the first 48 hours, and then after the first month, it's pretty much impossible to solve the case.
Right.
And she's like, "Well, we're coming up on it. You know, the time where people are going to start forgetting about what happened. And,
Yeah.
you know, she's
It's going to get put in a closed
reigniting
case,
it,
cold case files.
right, and never figure it out.
So I do get her frustration.
Mhm.
I completely understand.
Most definitely.
On the other hand, it does feel like once you find out all the stuff he has done the DNA testing, he has done everything, like you feel like he's exhausted everything he can do in this little town, you know, to try and solve this. You kind of feel like, okay, maybe he's not
And
such the
now
bad
it seems
guy.
like she's tarnishing his name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does a little bit at
Which-
that point.
You know, and then he brings up the fact that he's dying.
Yes, he's got
Yeah.
cancer.
And
Yeah.
she goes, I know.
Yeah.
And and he goes, and you still put the signs up? And she goes,
Yep.
yeah. You know, she wants her answers. You know what I
Right.
mean? And she wants people to not forget that
About her daughter.
her daughter was burned and raped.
Right.
Like, not far from her house, right by the fucking billboards.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, which makes the billboards mean a lot more too. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like,
So I mean,
I don't blame her.
No, I don't blame her either. It does seem like, man, I wish she could have found a different way. Maybe once you
Right.
find out he's not such a bad guy.
Right. Exactly. And that was my point with like, it makes you hate the cops immediately. And,
Right.
and then all of a sudden he goes and has that talk with her and you're like, well, they're both just not standing down. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like
Right.
they're holding their ground on each side.
Right.
And it's like, who do I love and who do I hate?
And there is still like this mutual respect between them. Like he kind of gets that she had to do this, you know, and I think she does kind of understand that he's done everything he could, but she can't accept that that's all he can do.
Right.
And I feel that, like, I don't have a daughter. I have 2 sons, but even so,
It's still terrible.
yeah. I mean, they could certainly be, something bad could happen to them. It's unlikely they'd be raped, but
Right.
you know, and I don't know if I would go a year, nobody got arrested or punished for what happened to him, that, you know, I wouldn't be trying to do the same
Something
shit.
that you can do.
Right.
Anything, you know, instead of sitting on your hands and waiting.
Right.
But yeah, and then it goes on to like the media shows up and you know, they put a lean on the whole story. The lean on the whole story is depressing when Mildred is present. It leans one way, and then when Sheriff Willoughby becomes with Sheriff Willoughby, it becomes a mob scene against this woman.
Right.
You know, when she's around, the media is all, you know, it's terrible that your daughter's killer was never found and blah blah blah. And then whenever they're with Willoughby or, you know, citizens
Right.
of the town, it's like, oh well, she's just a terrible woman putting up this sign.
Yeah,
you know?
that he's dying and she shouldn't be doing this. And,
Right, which supports what you just said. And
Right.
it's like you don't know who's right and who's wrong. You
Right.
know, which I mean, I think everybody's wrong in this situation.
and you start to feel like what really gets the feeling that the whole town is turning against her a little bit, at least to me, was obviously Dixon. I mean, he's kind of just he's out of his mind. Like he's a violent alcoholic.
Right.
And we're not even talking about. I can't believe we forgot to mention that Peter Dinklage is in
Yeah,
this movie.
actually, I was just reading that and I was like, we forgot to say something about Peter. Like,
Right.
he plays the midget.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Hey, that's what they said. No, but
it is. That is what they called him in the movie.
yeah,
And he has a crush on Mildred.
right. Well, we're assuming that people in this know who the fuck Peter Dinklage is, which I mean,
I don't
I'm
know
assuming
how
a lot of you
don't know.
I'm assuming a lot of you have seen like Game Over or not Game Over.
Game of Thrones.
No, the other one, the Pixels.
Oh, yeah,
Pixels
but
and
I guarantee
Game of
you-
Thrones.
Yeah, Game
and-
of Thrones is probably the biggest thing.
I think he
Death
was
at
in
a Funeral. I
Death-
think he was in that.
Yeah, he was. He
Yeah.
was the lover.
Yeah. He's amazing. He's in even that like the best Super Bowl commercial from this year.
Right, which is funny, and also your Snapchat right now has a filter on it that makes you look like him.
If you want to check that out.
Freaked me out.
I love that commercial though. He's
Oh, yeah,
lip syncing
from the Super Bowl.
Busta Rhymes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
But he doesn't have a huge part in this movie, but it is kind of important.
It's an effective
and,
part.
You really do man, he's on screen for maybe 10, 15 minutes of the whole movie
Total, yeah, probably.
total in different sections, and you still get this connection to him. That's man, that's a hard life for this little guy out in the middle of fucking
town,
nowhere, full of hicks,
just making fun of him all the time, always working his dick off. But yeah, then we move on to what the hell happened after that?
Well, after that, you see Sheriff Willoughby back at home having a dinner with his wife and his kids, and he's putting his kids to bed, and then they go out. Oh no, I'm sorry. Before they go out to the lake.
Yeah, slow down.
They go out to the lake, and they kind of
Well, no, hold on.
Sorry, go ahead if you got something ahead of that.
Just bringing up like I said, the whole town's pissed off that she has these 3 billboards up, right? And you can see it on Sheriff Willoughby's face every time somebody's talking about it. You know what I mean? And it's like he doesn't care. You know what I mean?
He almost just wants him to shut up about it.
Just stop talking about it. Right. And, he shows his character, that he does care.
Right.
He gives a shit about what's on them signs, and he knows why they're on the signs, and he wishes that he could get her to understand that he did, like you said, what he could do. And then, then she goes to the dentist, and, it starts to show that the whole town's... It shows that the whole town's against her, you know what I mean? Like, the dentist is like,
he's about to physically assault her.
Right, he's checking her teeth, and he's like, it's got to come out. And then, he gets ready to grab the pliers and just go in. She's like, no Novocaine? Right. You know what I mean? And then he goes, okay, well, we're going to have to wait a couple minutes. And he waits, 10 seconds, if that. And then he goes right in for it, and then...
She jams his cheek with the fucking drill.
Yeah.
She drills a hole in his face.
No, it wasn't his cheek. It was his thumb.
Oh, yeah, his thumb.
Some
sorry.
fat fucking dentist's thumb. But, it's just showing that the town's... Some people are in that mob. You know what I mean? They're... It's what they do, I guess. It's what human nature...
Small town, yeah.
But, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so then they show the Sheriff Willoughby. They take his kids out, him and his wife and his kids. They go out fishing, and he kind of sets his kids up to fish so he could go.
Brilliant.
It was good.
I was I would have never thought of something like that.
Put them in a circle of teddy bears, and then he
goes off the blanket,
right,
and fish for these teddy bears.
Goes out to the woods with some wine with his wife. So
mind you, it makes you forget that he's dying.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because honestly, throughout so far, you can tell he's sick because he's gone to the doctor a couple times.
He starts coughing up blood.
Right. Well,
when she comes,
we'll get to that. Yeah, that's after this. But he, he's not showing it.
No, not really.
He's taking his wife out. He's taking care of the horses.
I think he might not be getting treatment.
I don't think he is at all.
Yeah, I think he's just letting it happen.
Yeah, I think he'd be in a lot worse shape.
Yeah.
Physically, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Chemo, he'd be bald.
Not really be able to hide it.
Right.
And yeah, so they go out to the lake, and he has fun with her and all this other stuff. And meanwhile, the whole town's falling apart. And after the whole dentist incident, he has to go. They arrest Mildred.
Right.
Well, kind of. She's not in cuffs. She's in the building, and he goes in and talks to her, and
that's where he starts coughing up the blood.
Right.
And just lets her go. That's right.
And then, this is whenever she comes in and she's making fun of Dixon, and she's like, what, Mama's coaching you or something like that? And, all this other stuff like that. And
his mom was a fucking psychopath, too.
And then he goes, Mama's against torturing people of color. You know what I mean? He's so against it now. But then, Willoughby goes, you think I care about a dentist? No one does. Nobody cares about a fat dentist. And then, brings up his husband with the 19-year-old just to get under her skin a little bit.
Right.
Then... that's how they know each other, is because her ex-husband is an ex-cop.
Right.
And, he worked for the station and stuff. And, well, he's an abusive piece of shit. And
he is, and that is crazy to me because, she doesn't come off as a woman who would ever have allowed that to happen to her.
Right. I think that's the way she is now, though. After
doing with, that's what changed her, I guess.
And that's when the sheriff coughs up blood on her, and it breaks her heart.
Right.
He's like, I'm sorry. And she's like, no, I know, it's okay. You know what I mean? And it kind of makes you feel more human with them now, because they're fighting, but they care.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then, then he's, on his way to the ambulance, and he's just let her go.
Yeah,
and
right.
They just let her go.
Right.
And then, it cuts to them driving back to the house, and her son's with her, and he's talking about,
yeah, it's hard for him, too.
He loses his mind about it because, he didn't read the reports. He didn't know what actually happened to his sister, and now he has to
deal-
drive past these billboards that tell him exactly what the fuck happened.
and think about it all the time and the
Right.
bad shit that happened to his sister.
Man, that's tough.
And it's hard for him at school too, like people throwing shit at her car. I mean, it's not made his
she
life
kicked him
easy.
in the nuts.
Yeah, she did.
They were teenagers.
Yeah.
Yeah, then
it's
they
made
talk
his
about,
life difficult too in that town.
Right, it really did. And then it goes to a flashback after that, and then it's showing like the argument they had that night.
Right.
Her mom, Mildred and her daughter.
Yeah, and oh my god, the last thing that she said to her was,
Yeah,
I hope you got raped too.
Yeah, it's like,
man.
you know, it hits you and tells you, you know,
Yeah.
whenever you say bye to somebody, make sure it's the last thing you want to be
Yeah,
able to say
right.
to them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
You don't want that to be the last words
Right.
that come out of your mouth to somebody.
It was funny though, because it goes, she goes, "Can I have the car?" And she goes, "No." And she goes, "Why?" And she says, "It's you know, they're cracking on each other." She's like, "Can I have the car?" And she's like, "No." And she goes, "Why?" And she's like, "You're smoking pot." And she's like, "Well, you drove drunk with us with a kid." You know what I mean?
Yeah, when
Like,
we were kids,
Yeah,
yeah.
it gives you like a, you know, a touch of that it's a normal family. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like as normal as we know.
Right.
And then, you know, like I said, she said, "I hope you get raped." And she goes, "Yeah, I do too." And, you know, things you wish you didn't say.
Right. It's like, oh my goodness, like, no wonder she's so beat up about it. On top of the fact that this happened to her daughter, like, she really, like, the last thing she said to her was, "You wish that's what happened to her. That sucks."
Right. And then it goes into, you know, her ex-husband comes over and her son protects her.
Yeah, he put the knife to his throat.
To his
like,
dad's throat,
yeah, like, let her go.
like a boss. And then you start to learn that Dixon's mother is worse than him.
Yeah, exactly. You totally get where it comes from. You totally get why he ends up with why he is the way he is, for sure.
She's like, "Well, she got any friends?"
Yeah, fuck
Yeah.
with her friends then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he does. He plants pot on her friend and then arrests her.
Nope. She had 2 marijuana joints
Yeah,
or whatever, and fucking yeah, it was funny.
and then we kind of get to a point that really starts to change things when
Yeah, this is downhill.
Yeah.
This is downhill now. Yeah.
Sheriff Willoughby, you don't like see this coming at all either. Like he's just having dinner, he goes out to see his horses, and then he fucking shoots himself in the head.
Dude, me and my old lady both were bawling. Like,
I was like, did he really just do that?
yeah, and on the mask that he put over his head when
Yeah,
he shot
don't-
himself,
yeah,
it said,
don't
don't look under the mask. Just call the boys.
Right.
You know, just,
Yeah, he put the mask on first, and then
Right.
he did it, and
but you
then
gotta think he just had Paradise Day. You know, he took his kids out to the lake. You know,
Right.
they had fun. They fished. He got to bang his old lady in the woods.
right.
You know, they got drunk. Well, she got drunk, and you know, she made her little pecker jokes, and
I knew that when that happened, I was thinking this town is really going to come down harder on her now because
Right.
they're going to blame her.
they do.
And yeah, even though like you see that he wrote letters to everybody, and you get to hear what was written in the letter, and he clearly points out this had nothing to do with
Oh yeah, his
the
letter.
signs.
His letter to her was fucking
to his
beautiful.
wife. Yeah.
Well, to Mildred.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't want to say what he said to Mildred yet because I
Yeah.
want to talk about another part first, and then we'll spring that on it. But yeah, he clearly points out this has nothing to do with it, and I knew it. I'm like, that's not going to matter that he said that. They're still going to blame her for this,
Right.
and they did. And you start kind of seeing that because all of a sudden now,
Well, she's out there at the signs putting plants down, and she winds up talking to the deer
yeah,
and thinking it's like a reincarnation
Yeah,
of
of
her
her
daughter
daughter.
or whatever. And it turns out that's a real deer. And she's like a famous deer in that town. Like,
Oh,
that
yeah?
real town. Like, yeah, she's like she was rescued as a baby, and now she can't go back to like just being in the wild.
it didn't look real. I thought it was CGI'd for sure.
Well, it was CGI'd, but it was a real deer that they CGI'd.
Oh, it's a story
into it.
about- okay.
Yeah. And like I guess the whole town feeds this deer all the time and shit. Like
It's
it
a
just
good life.
walks house to house. You
Gets
know,
picking
like,
up snacks.
Yeah.
But I knew it, regardless of what he said, that they were going to blame her for it. And you really start to see the pressure because she goes back. She gets called back into Red's office, and he tells her, "Oh, I misread the contract. You really don't have the money. That was really just for a deposit in the first month."
Right.
And then, like in the middle of that, this envelope shows up
Right.
with the money to pay for the second month.
Right.
And you'd have no idea where it comes from.
Just a little. She said it was a little Mexican delivery boy.
Yeah, yeah. You had no idea where it's come from, who the money came from, and then once Willoughby kills himself and everybody gets their letters, his wife shows up, gives her letter, and you read that he fucking did that.
Right.
He paid for it because he said he wanted to make sure she had to defend it for another month after
Yeah.
he was gone.
Hope they don't kill you.
Yeah. But it wasn't like
But he was telling her that like I looked for your daughter. Like
right.
the
I
killer.
really
You're
did
like,
everything I
yeah,
could.
like-
Yeah. And I think the letter of his that made the most change was the one he sent to Dixon. Even though
Very much.
Dixon like loses his fucking mind. He sets the signs on fire. He beats the shit out of Red.
No. Dixon didn't set the signs on fire.
Oh, that's right. You think Dixon did. They don't show you.
Right.
But
he said, well, I'm not a cop anymore because he got arrested for throwing Red out the window.
Yeah, he beats the shit.
Well, he didn't get arrested. He got fired.
Yeah, he beats the shit out of the guy who sold her the advertising space.
Right out the window.
Throws him out the fucking window. Like, I can't believe he's not dead.
He walks back across the street.
yeah. And he's like, there, I don't just abuse black people.
yeah.
But yeah, he gets fired, and you definitely think, like, I thought up until the last moment that he's the one who set the...
I did too.
And so did she.
Yeah.
She assumed it was, because then she proceeds to fucking firebomb the police station.
Right. Well, she said anger begets more anger, and
it did for her.
Right.
Because she does. She goes and firebombs the police station with Dixon inside of it.
Then she didn't know.
She did not know that he was in it. Yeah.
Tried to make sure it was empty.
Yeah. She did not know that he was in there.
He was in there reading Willoughby's letter to him.
Yep. And
which
even
was inspiring.
It was. It really was. It really changed It really changed him as a person at that moment because
immediately.
Yeah. Like he has headphones on, so he doesn't hear her
the
throwing
fire,
like Molotovs at the building.
Which I thought was funny because it's just like at some point you didn't smell like fire
or the heat. Just feel it. He wasn't that far away. That was like serious flames. Like you'd be like, "Woo!"
Yeah,
like
it's getting warm in here.
Yeah.
Like, no, it was. And what did Willoughby's letter say? It was just.
He really thought he could be a good cop.
Right. And
he really did.
Patience and love.
Yeah, right.
And it'll figure it out.
Yeah, and while it's burning down, he saves her daughter's case file. And jumps out the fucking window, gets burned up.
Takes the case file, and then she sees that.
Right.
And it breaks her heart.
Yeah, that she just did that. And he was still trying to find out who her daughter's killer was, or make sure that, like, if nothing else was saved, he wanted to make sure that the information about her daughter's case was at least saved.
And I want to bring that up again at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's got a lot of complaints about that. But,
So she
does this amazing day. The place catches on fire.
Luckily, Peter Dinklage. What is his character's name? I can't remember his name, so I'm just gonna call him Peter. Luckily, he sees it. James. He sees it. He sees her doing it, but luckily, he then becomes her alibi that they were together.
They were on a date.
On a date, yeah, and then she is then forced to actually go on a date with him.
Yeah.
Which is where you really start to when they go on the date as payment for this, you really start to feel for him and how hard his life is in that town because. Like, he says it out loud. Like, you don't have to do this shit. I'm leaving. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I really like you. You know, don't just, I don't want to just do this for this reason or whatever, He helped her repaint the signs. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I didn't have to be there holding that ladder, And, like, that was the only thing he could do to help was hold the ladder. But he was fucking there helping her hold the ladder.
Right.
Yeah. He just wants her to see.
I didn't have to hold the ladder for you.
Yeah.
When they're on their date and they get in that fight.
Yeah. And he just wants her to, like, see past the fact that he's a little person, you know what I mean? He's like, look, there's so much more to me than that.
Right. And what are you besides the town kook right now?
Yeah, exactly. How are you any better? Yeah. You got more problems than I do right now.
But, like you said, the billboards go back up. Whenever they put them up, I guess they get copies in case there's any damaged or whatever. And the guy
Luckily
that originally put up the billboard came back and told her,
let her know, hey, these are up here.
We can put them back up for you. Right. And they do.
Which I gotta bitch about that for a second because those things were burning like crazy.
Yeah.
You'd
have to replace the wood and all that.
It would have to be completely rebuilt. Yeah, that thing would have fell down and burnt up in no time because she was trying to put the fires out, but she didn't even get close to putting even one of them out. So when did somebody
got the first two out?
When did somebody come and put it out? Because she kind of just gave up.
Right.
And the last one should have just been burning until it was ashes.
Right. Did we mention that it was her husband that burned him?
No, because she didn't know that. But yes, you find out later on that her husband. Her husband is the one who set him on fire. Mm-hmm. So he
was drunk. Whatever.
Yeah, Dixon gets burned up pretty good. He dives out he has to jump out the window.
Right.
So he gets burned up pretty good. Ends up in a hospital room with Red, the
Karma.
guy who he beat the shit out of.
Yeah, and he's like telling him he's sorry and shit. Dude, I'd have poured that orange juice all over his body. Like,
yeah,
you just threw my ass out a window. Fuck
Lucky
you.
I'm alive.
Yeah.
But yeah, he definitely he did really, really, truly seem remorseful though. Like seeing
that letter,
the way the kid. It was that letter changed everything in that guy's life. Most of stuff. I mean, he still drank a lot.
Right.
and like, but
actually not really. I don't think he did. I think he was getting ready to sulk, and that's whenever the end of the next part was he overhears the rape story.
Yeah, but he was shit faced there.
I don't think he was. I think he
You
was.
think he was
stone
faking
cold
it?
sober.
You think he was faking
He
the
did,
drunkenness?
because like he was sitting there at the table away from them, with them behind him.
We can't tell. He plays drunk guys so well.
Well, yeah, but he's just standing there and like he had one drink. He had one beer on him, and like it was still full, and like you heard him slide it across the table. Or
Yeah,
whatever,
and he gets
to
up to go get another
outside.
one. Yeah.
And then like he gets the license plate of the truck after he overhears the story.
Yep.
And then like he walks in. Well, he lights a cigarette and gets ready to walk back in, not stumbling, nothing, anything like that. And he walks back in, and then he goes up to the bar, and then he starts acting a little drunk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to kind of portray.
Because there are two guys behind him in the bar who are telling a story that sounds really familiar to what happened.
Familiar.
Yeah, too familiar to what happened to her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So he thinks he's got this like break in the case, which is basically what he was told. Like when it gets to this point, you just have to get lucky. You have to wait till the person slips up.
Right.
And
he didn't do his usual thing where he just rush in and do something crazy. Like he sat
Right.
and thought about it.
He
got
took the
license
evidence.
plate,
Yep.
He got, and then he like sits down with the guy and like, I'll show you a magic trick.
Yeah.
And he winds up fucking just scratching the shit out of his
To
face
get his DNA.
which
Yeah.
I didn't put that together when it first happened.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? Like, is he drunk? You know what I mean? And then
Nah,
the second time I watched it, I was like, no, he's sober.
He may have been a little drunk, but he had enough. He was still there enough to figure
Right.
out what to do.
Right. And then he scratches the dude leaves because the dudes or the billboard guy and the
His
other
girlfriend, the girl who got arrested for
he's
the
a
marijuana.
cop. He was a cop or whatever, and he's
Right.
like, I don't see a badge or whatever, and then they wind up leaving.
Right.
And then Dixon goes home and has a whole moment where his mom sees him all beat up and shit, and she's freaking out, like, open the door, and he's like, it's okay, mama, it's okay, and
Right.
he's like it's kind of like a water boy kind of scenario right there. But then he puts the DNA in the vial and writes down the name of the case, the case number on it, and
He sends it off, and then he goes the next morning to tell Mildred about what he, not giving her too much hope, but a little bit.
Right, something, anything.
And, oh, man, I thought for sure.
Kind of showing you that the billboards worked a little bit.
They did. The billboards led to this, led to that, and, because who knows if the sheriff writes all these letters to everybody, if he had, maybe he didn't kill himself because of the billboards, but it definitely made him overthink things, or not overthink, but rethink things in a little deeper context before he killed himself.
Maybe I really do touch people in this town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, he, he did go tell her just to let her know, like, you haven't heard anything from us about it in so long. You know what I mean? And like, we understand your signs now. You know what I mean? And
right.
This might be our chance, and it might be, and she was grateful. She said thank you. You know what I mean? And like, it's the most news I've heard since it happened.
Right. It's the best case. It's
Yeah.
the best lead they've had since this has all started.
Right.
But then we get the bad news.
They're fucking
And
negative.
the bad news is it's not that guy because he's in the military. He wasn't even in the country. But
which is depressing on its own.
Right.
That he's somewhere else fucking gangbang raping somebody.
Yeah, he did definitely commit a crime.
Right.
Just not this one.
Yeah, or in this country, but at the same time, it's that was.
I
cool
was so mad. I was like, yes, they're gonna find
Yeah.
She went through all this, and they're gonna get the guy.
Right.
And
the whole town will shut the fuck up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
But
no.
and she takes a. You got something to say there before I move on, or?
Well, like you said, you were put into the letdown that it wasn't the guy.
Right.
And the new sheriff gives him credit for doing some detective work. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like he's
probably gonna get it. I don't know if he'll get his
hope
job
he gets
back,
his job
but
back. But
he's on the right road to doing that.
And what I wanted to say about what happens next is he lives in Idaho. They find out where the guy lives.
Right.
The rapist. And not their rapist.
Not their rapist, but a rapist.
Right. And that's what I wanted to say is like a lot of people that were skeptical of this movie and like had a comment to say about it, and they were so pissed off about the ending and like how it wasn't the guy, or it was a terrible ending for such a great film. And I'm like, how was it a terrible ending? Because in the beginning of the film, you would have never thought these two would be in the same room together, not fighting. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And now they're on a road trip to Idaho
to
possibly kill this fucking guy together.
Like she's like, I can't get mine, but I can do something to help somebody else.
Right. It blew my mind, and I'm like, I thought that was a great fucking ending.
I think, yeah. So now that's where it ends. Yeah, Mildred and Dixon are on a road trip to what looks like they're going to go fucking take care of this other rapist guy on their own.
With a
Okay, and
shotgun.
that's kind of where it ends. But I think what people, at least what I didn't like about it, okay, was the ending is not that it wasn't the guy, but it does come off a little bit like nothing really changed. Her situation didn't change. From the time the movie started, before she put the billboards up, to when they're on the road trip there, she knows nothing more. Nothing more has happened for her daughter or getting resolution to the case than was at the beginning of the movie.
I mean, I see that, but I do think a lot changed. Because A, our sheriff's gone now. B, the two people that hated each other over nothing to hate each other over.
No, there's definitely some...
They're best friends now.
Relationship changes in the town,
Right.
and the way the town is going to function going forward will probably be different. But when, like, the crux of the movie, which is the murder and rape of her daughter,
Right.
none of that was actually moved forward. She is in the same spot, just as, like, hopeless and without information about what's going to happen. She's no closer to the arrest of the person who did this than she was before, the whole time leading up to the start of the movie.
But it also makes you think about, what Dixon said to her in the car, and he goes, "Are you sure about murdering this guy?"
She said she wasn't completely sure.
And they said they weren't sure. They'll think about it on the way.
Right.
That's what I mean. Like, they became buddies. And then on top of that, it kind of gives you the idea of the Greek tragedies, and it was an eye for an eye. You know what I mean? Like, I might not find my daughter's killer,
Right.
but I'm finding a killer.
So you think, like, let's say they go on to, and they go through with it. They kill this other guy. Like, is she satisfied then?
I don't think she'll be satisfied, but I think she'll feel like the ground's a little more even.
Yeah.
There's one less in the world. One less mother is going to have to do what I just did.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the only thing that I think that can make that any better is if somehow they find the evidence of this guy doing it, or the case, or the country, or whatever the fuck. Like when he was talking to the sheriff, he was like, "Well, what country was he in?" And he was like, "Well, it has a lot of sand."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He never gave him the actual state
it was
or
like
the
classified.
actual country or whatever. And it's like, well, what if they get the information of where that was, and then send that DNA of that guy that admitted it to them? Like, this might be your guy,
Right.
Because then they solved at least a case. It might not have been their case, but
they did something.
They solved a case. You know what I mean? Which makes Dixon fucking awesome, because he went from being a shitty fucking cop to this guy might,
like, a decent human being.
He might be a great detective one. And
I think that maybe that's what it was really like. You're supposed to think that the movie's about her finding her daughter's killer, and that's not really what it's about. It's really about how this situation changes and affects people.
They grow
that are in that situation, not necessarily.
Just because you're one way one day doesn't mean you'll be that way the next.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't about. It was never supposed to be about, like, a crime story about. It wasn't just another episode of Forensic Files. Finding out her daughter's killer.
Right. Which is funny, because the way she said, anytime kids are born, just take their DNA, and then their father's the one that's responsible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's like, well, that's civil rights
laws.
laws.
Yeah.
101. Like, we can't do that.
Can't just run around the town and take everybody's DNA in the town just because.
Yeah.
Without any evidence whatsoever.
I mean, I get it, though. Like, you would look for any angle that you could possibly. Like, you'd be willing to fucking put a bullet in anybody's
head. It's amazing how, like, it's easy to stand behind principles like that when they're not affecting you. It's easy to say, no, that wouldn't be right. We don't have any evidence.
Right.
But when you're like, oh, this may be the only way to solve who killed my daughter, I don't give a fuck about your civil rights.
Right. Skin them.
Line them all up, start drawing blood. Man, I don't give a fuck.
No, like I said, I thought it wasn't the norm film, and it wasn't a film that ended where everybody's happy. You know what I mean?
No, and I think that's I normally like movies like that a lot that don't have the sure, I was rooting for them to find the guy,
right?
But I
we
also
all were.
also like movies that don't have the of course that's how this ends.
Right.
Like, it all got wrapped up and then with a nice little bow on top, and she got what she wanted. And
I mean, honest to God, dude, I'd love to see,
just like a movie of her and Dixon driving around the country.
Misery. Just call it Leaving Misery.
Yeah, they're just driving around the country, killing.
Going to Idaho.
Yeah, they're like Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Vigilantes.
Awesome. Like, I would love that. It's just, and cleaning shit up, and eventually, like, it sounds like they're gonna lead into the military if they did.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, granted, I hate to say, I'm not saying fucking veterans are bad, but we do bad shit sometimes. You know,
Yeah, everybody does.
and
It just so happens.
it would be interesting to have that. Oh well, the cake is here.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't put my phone on vibrate. Nobody ever calls me. What the hell?
Oh, it's okay. I don't have friends either. You guys are my friends. No, but like I said, it was. I liked it just because it wasn't the run of the mill fucking film where it was, you know, hero antagonist, it's climax over. You know
Right,
what I mean?
yeah,
and it's like happy ending.
There wasn't a happy ending, really.
This one was, you didn't know who the enemy was.
It
You knew who the enemy was, but we didn't know who the enemy was.
I guess you can't say it wasn't a happy ending. It just wasn't the happy ending you were expecting.
Right.
It was a happy ending in the way the relationships between other people changed.
Right.
You know, I'm sure. Who knows? Maybe she'd get back from Idaho and she'll go out on a real date with Peter Dinklage and
right.
and actually, you know, now all this stuff happens.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And that also reminds me of whenever they were in the restaurant and he was there with his girlfriend, his 19-year-old girlfriend.
Oh, her
And she was
ex-husband.
Like, she was like, "Don't you fucking hurt her."
Right?
Like,
yeah, because he'll be next on the list.
dude, like, honest to God, I was watching this movie and I saw my mom almost in every scene.
Yeah.
Just because, like, she's that kind of a woman.
Right.
You know what I mean? She was just tough, you know? Like,
Right.
she took care of her own and, like, the things that you thought would hurt her, she used.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, she made power out of it.
Right.
And that's what she did in this film, Frances. You know, and it's Mildred. She just, anything that was to kick her in the chest, she just took a deep breath and took the hit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And just kept going with it. And I loved her character in this film. Like, that's why I put on the page that she got the badass award, because I thought that it was Chuck Norris reincarnated or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, she wasn't kicking ass, but she was destroying you with every word that came out of her mouth.
Right.
The conversation with the priest.
Yeah.
How fucking beautiful was that?
Right.
Like, it was. I got it written down here. The word she fucking used, culpable. You know, whenever she was talking about the Crips and the Bloods, and like, if you know, you were just minding your business in a grocery store one day, and one of your Crips or Blood members wound up murdering somebody, you were culpable as well because you were one of them.
You're a member of the gang.
Yeah, and then she was talking about the priest, and she was like, "So I don't support anybody that's touching little boys."
Culpable to boy fucking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, "So you can see your ass out of my kitchen." Like, I was like, "Oh my god, I fucking love her!" Like, I just thought that was culpable. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
she had the argument for everything. You know, and it's just like,
God damn, wouldn't it be wonderful if that was the law? Why that is the law for gang members and stuff.
Yeah.
It should be the law for that too.
It
'cause
really
it's
should.
all-
yeah, they'd wind up weeding each other out real fucking quick.
Yep.
It's like the satanic cult or whatever, and they were like talking about pedophiles and shit like that. And they're like, "We find out you ever fucking did that, you're not allowed to be a Satanist if you're a rapist."
Yeah, you're not.
Isn't that?
It's explicitly stated in
That's
there.
what
Yeah.
I mean. Like, it's something you wouldn't really expect.
Right.
I mean, you wouldn't really expect it to be there, but at the same time, you're like, well, even Satanists don't support it. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Why are you covering it
But the
up?
priests are fucking defending each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, she had a good point, man.
did.
You know what I mean? It's like, you're
I can't
culpable.
I can't take advice from
Yeah,
somebody
I
like
don't
that.
trust a fucking word out of your mouth,
Right.
bro. Like, please get the fuck out of my kitchen. Like, and then her son just looks at him and he's like, "Well, thanks, Father. You know, nice try."
Right.
No, it was a good film. I loved it. If we're doing stars and stuff like that or whatever,
Nah, we don't have to do it. It was, dude. I mean, it was really
it was
good.
worth buying.
Yeah,
it's an own that film.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And thank goodness they got some like recognition too. Like,
dude,
I haven't seen every movie that was up for like Best Picture, but the ones I did see.
I don't think it was a very good list of movies that were up for a good picture.
Well, I seen The Darkest Hour. I watched Dunkirk. I watched this.
What was the other one?
The Shape of Water
Shape of
won.
Water,
I've
that
not
was
watched
it.
that one
Yeah.
yet.
I didn't think it was that good.
But out of the three I watched that were up, this one would have won to me. Dunkirk.
Oh yeah, that's another fun fact is this Martin McDowell. This was the first movie that he did without Colin Farrell.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah, because he was in Bruges. He was in Seven Psychopaths. Yeah.
but it was a budget of $15 million. Opening weekend, it made $4,396,000. Gross income as of March of this year was $52 million. $362,352.
I think it getting like putting up for awards and stuff like that really increased the
my next
budget
thing.
because
it's nominated for 188 awards, and so far it's won 81.
yeah, so almost half of every award it was put up for, it's won.
Right.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
that's why you see how much that money has jumped after it got put up there, because it's not like one of those movies like. It's not a Marvel movie, you know what I mean?
You're not just going
It's
to rush
like,
to the movie theater and watch it.
yeah, you wouldn't think so.
I think it probably made a lot of its money whenever it was released to.
Yeah, I mean, like on demand stuff.
Yeah.
I mean that's where I watched it.
Stream.
Yeah,
When it was streaming.
I rented it on an app. You know?
I bought it on Xbox. I knew I was going to love it.
I haven't bought any movie. I just rent them for the night, and like
It depends. Like I rented Thor Ragnarok just because, like,
you were unsure.
yeah, and then like I was fuck, I should have bought it because it was good. I
Right.
thought that was the best Marvel so far.
Right, it was good. I loved that movie. I still got to go see Black Panther now. I got to get back on.
I think I'm going to wait to see Black Panther for Infinity War. I think I'll watch. I want to do it consecutively. You know what I mean? Like, because I binge watch shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
people were like, watch Dexter, and I was like, okay, I'll watch an episode, see if I like it. And I watched the first episode, and then like I had the next 2 days off, and my next 2 days was nothing but
Dexter. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. And I think Spider-Man's supposed to come out at the same time as right before Infinity War.
I don't think so. Infinity War comes out in April. I don't
Really?
Think yeah.
Well, I thought they were supposed to release a Marvel
Or May,
film
April
before
or
that.
May.
I can't remember.
I think Black Panther is the last movie that's going to come out before the first Infinity
Really?
War. The
Okay.
first part of it. It's I think it's in 2 parts, so there might be a Spider-Man movie before the second part. Maybe that's what you're talking
Okay,
about.
that might be it.
Yeah.
Then I'll probably just wait until Spider-Man comes out and then binge watch those 3. Because I mean, that's the only reason why Marvel's
I
fucking
mean, it's
beating
ridiculous.
everything right
There's
now.
like 30 movies now, or 18
Yeah,
or
but they're all
19
relevant.
movies. Yeah.
You know, that's the reason why they're beating DC and everything.
Right.
It's because they're so relevant to each film. You know, like
Man, we are way off track here.
I know, but Iron Man actually saved Spider-Man in Iron Man 2. Because Spider-Man was wearing the Iron Man masks, and whenever the fucking
I have
bombs were
heard
about
that.
to
I
fall-
have heard that.
You know,
that
it's
could
like
be a possibility.
little
The timelines don't line up right though.
They
I've
do,
read
pretty
about that.
close. I mean, Peter's what, 17 or
think
16 or
he's-
17? In the,
Yeah, it's somewhere
in the
between the
film
ages
now?
of 15 and 17.
Yeah, like
It could line up, but I read about that, and we'll talk about that another time.
when we get into Marvel.
Yeah.
Your pussy's playing with my microphone.
Yeah, she is.
Come here, Tiny.
All right.
Your
Well,
cat's so
if you
little.
don't have anything else to,
No, I just fucking watch it. I'm tired of telling you bastards. Like, we talk about it. You know we're gonna ruin these films for you.
yeah, you just don't watch them anyway.
So try watching them.
They're
and
definitely worth watching.
That's why we tell you what we're talking about in the next episode, because we want you to watch it.
Before we get there.
Yeah, and then we'll
Yeah.
bullshit about it.
Yeah.
I wish we had a phone next to us right now so you could call in and be like, "You're fucking wrong" or something. You know what
I
I mean?
know. We got to figure out how to do this shit live.
Live or something, yeah, and let people fucking yell at
Right.
us, or I don't know, tell us we don't.
Yeah, I mean, because it'll pop up,
Yeah.
you know, as you talk about
Right.
it.
Get your pussy off the table or something.
We just got to figure out how to do it. Like, it can't be that difficult. It's just running, you know, the output to
Right.
like another. It can't be that difficult. So we'll figure it
We'll
out.
figure it out. But if you haven't watched it or you haven't seen any reviews about it, and we just had a good spoiler for you,
It's still worth watching.
it's
like
still
you
Give
can
it a
hear
glance.
about it from us talking about it, but you can't feel it
right At
unless
all.
you watch it.
at all.
Because we can't give out we can't. I'm not an actor.
We can't
know
put you
what
in
I mean?
those moments
Right.
where
We could describe them, tell you how they made us feel,
right,
but
what we thought.
yeah, you got to watch it to really know what what to feel about it. And I'd mention what we're doing next, but we don't know yet. But it'll be on the Facebook page.
Yeah. Just 3 Billboards. It's a grower, not a shower. You know, you
Yeah,
gotta
it is.
you gotta watch it,
Right.
And it'll grow on you.
Right. Look, I mean, honestly, if I hadn't seen about it and it's up for all these awards and everything, I don't know if I'd have watched it.
Right.
You know, because it wouldn't have been on my radar.
No, not at all.
I don't think.
This cat.
The cat, she wants to be on the show.
Yeah, she's all about this.
She's gonna rub all over the microphone.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Get on, like the page, share the page. Just do us a favor, let everybody know about it, and so they can listen to our dumb antics. And
Right. If you have any suggestions for us, thecinemigos@gmail.com or on the Facebook page, facebook.com/the Cinemigos would be a great place to let us know.
we'll watch and play anything except for soaps. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it don't matter if good movie, bad movie. It don't
Yeah.
matter. I mean, if you even if it's one of those like so bad it's good movies,
Right.
throw it out there.
We might not dedicate a whole show to it, but we'll talk
We'll
about
talk about it.
Like-
Yeah. All right,
Take it easy, guys.
We'll
Have
see you
some
next
beers
time.
and laughs. Take it easy.